Hello, Barry, William, Magnetity, and welcome to the Tradie Business School podcast. I'm joined today by my co-host Anthony Vazzari. Mate, how you doing?
Barry, I'm good, man. You been surfing? What about you?
Yeah, surf's good at the moment. We're just about to kick into core surf season here in Bali, so I'm excited for that.
Beautiful.
We got an interesting topic today, and it actually came about from a call you had earlier with a prospect that brought up the wife objection. And the wife objection was, let me check with my wife and I'll get back to you. Now, this is not a podcast on sales per se, but it did bring up an interesting discussion point before we started recording some episodes about the importance of partnership in business. Now, partnership, I would invite you to see, is not just necessarily partnership in terms of a business partner. It could be also in terms of a life partner or a supporting partner, maybe a friend as well. And I guess the opportunity we have is to have somebody in your corner that supports you and champions you on, cheers you from the sideline, maybe picks you up when you fall. But the flip side of that, and I've seen it on a lot of sales calls and I've seen it in a lot of coaching sessions, is when you have a partner that doesn't support you, that is stuck in fear, that holds you back, not in an attempt to hold you back, but to keep you safe. And in earlier years, that was our parents,
Yeah.
right? How many times, Anthony, do you experience your mum or dad going, I'm not sure if that's a good career choice for you, Anthony. You know what? I'm not sure she's the right girl for you, Anthony. You know what? I don't know if you should be doing that. It's a bit dangerous, Anthony.
Yeah, it's just spot on, Barry. I think, and then this goes for every one of our clients as well. Like, it's the bad habits that get sent from above, not in anyone's fault, but it's they want to protect you, right? So your whole parents and even previous mentors, business owners, like they want to protect you, and their way of protecting you is to kind of keep you inside your comfort zone. Like, don't step out, like don't meet strangers, don't speak to strangers. Everything you ever want is from a stranger, as I think the famous Grant Cardone once said. Anything you ever want is from somebody else out there. So this idea of somebody holding you back, sometimes it's because they care for you, but then there's other times where it's also sabotaging because maybe they don't want you to succeed or they don't want you to accomplish more than them, which we sometimes see as well.
Yeah, and I guess my hope from this episode is to maybe open up some colors of the spectrum in awareness and consciousness. Because as you mentioned before from that quote of Grant Cardone, it's finding balance, right? There's some people that actually want the best from you. And the way they go about doing that is maybe questioning or challenging your decisions, right?
Yeah.
And it may be perceived as them holding you back, but what's actually holding back is their own past experiences being projected. Then there is people that are actually out there to get you and are actually out there to sabotage. Now, equally too, if we look at a partnership, I remember distinctly having a conversation, and in this context, it was with a male owner of a business, and he said, "Look, mate, I need to check with my wife. I don't make any financial decisions, blah 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 blah, until I check with my wife." And I said, "Do you possibly think that the reason why you're in the current situation you're in is because you have an inability to make the tough decisions when they matter?" Now, I want to preface, this is no disrespect to the women out there listening to this that are involved in their partner's business and lives, or vice versa, right? This was a specific scenario. And he said, you know what? You're probably right. So the same as that example with Grant Cardone, and realizing that there's a spectrum in between those two, there's a spectrum in knowing when to go to your business partner or your life partner and have conversations, take all their feedback, when to listen to their feedback, and when to also make a decision on your own, right?
Yeah, spot on, Barry. And I think the other way to look at it as well is, what have you done in the past that has caused somebody to not want you to make a decision. And I see this all the time. If you've been running your business a certain way where you don't have time to spend with the family, you don't have time to spend with the kids, you're making less money than you were making being a subcontractor, what that ends up creating is resentment from your husband or from your wife or from your business partner or from whoever. They start resenting the business. The reason they start resenting the business is because the business ends up creating this dynamic where you can't spend any time with them. You're making less money. So I don't blame them. I don't blame them for wanting to keep them in their comfort zone. I don't blame them for them not wanting them to do anything differently. It's because they haven't put themselves in a position to be able to succeed, which stems back from the original issue to begin with. They weren't set up for success in the first place. So then you've got to find that balance, and then you've got to understand that whose responsibility is it to fix it? All right, fault aside, it might not be your fault, but it's your responsibility to fix it. It's not your spouse's responsibility to fix your business. You're running the business, Barry. You need to step up. You need to make a tough decision. You need to do something differently. Otherwise, nothing's going to change.
That's such an important point, and it takes me back to a conversation I had with a client of ours, Steve, and he's like, my wife's not going to support me on this. And I know it seems to be more one-way gender. There's a lot of females out there that are running trade businesses too, but we do typically get a lot of males. But he's like, my wife's not going to support this decision. Like, there's been a number of times that I've spent money and it's affected the business, and she does the books and blah, 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 blah. And I ended up going through a process and asked him if he truly believed that we were able to help him. And he said, I am. And I was like, well, let's get this done. Right? Let's get this done. The worst case scenario is you're going to end up in the shit the same way as you always have. The best case scenario is you're going to win some trust and faith back from your partner and from yourself. Now, he joined on and things did change. I actually got an email. I got a personal email from his wife saying, I'm so glad you talked him into it. He's a different partner. He's a different father. He's a different business owner as a result. But again, this is where I thoroughly believe in the ability we have to check back. Now, he had created an environment where he wasn't being supported because he'd made shitty decisions in the past.
Yeah.
Right? That has an impact on people around you. If you make a shitty decision in your business, which means you can't afford to put food on the table, that impacts your family.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why one of the things I love is when we actually speak to both the husband and the wife, and immediately we can sense that there is some resentment there,
Tension.
or some tension. There's misalignment, and you can quickly point that out, and you can get to the bottom of that. What I find though, Barry, is a quick way, if anybody out there is listening where you may feel like your partner isn't as on board with your decisions, or you feel like you wanting to make change would cause some issues on that side of things. First, we've got to understand it's your responsibility, and I don't blame them. I don't blame your husband. I don't blame your wife for them holding you back if it's because of your lack of decision making or lack of strategic thinking when you started the business. But you've also got to understand that you can get them more involved in that as well. If you're just keeping everything to yourself, this is what I find is we really love opening up the conversation and saying, oh, let's bring your partner to that conversation. I think they would actually appreciate you going through this assessment with them, you going through the profitable pricing calculator with them, you actually, having a conversation with them about your goals. How many people are in partnerships, Barry, or that are married, or they're running businesses, but they've never sat down and actually said, this is where I want the business to be for these reasons, and this is what I think it's going to allow us to do for our future, our lives, and our kids. How many people actually sit down and involve their spouse in that conversation, rather than coming home after a 60-hour week, not being able to go to their kids' sporting events, just going to bed at night, having dinner, spending 2 hours at night doing invoices, just to wake up in the morning at 5 a.m. all over again.
And I guess this gets back to my intention of the episode is that, one thing that I've found out the hard way and through a lot of broken relationships and a lot of emotion is that the actual best investment that I can make is in my partner, right? And partners. And what I mean by that is I have one intimate sexual partner, but I also have a lot of other partners in business as well. And the best investment I can make is in those partnerships in such a way that they're brought into conversations, that there's vulnerability about it, but I'm also able to stand up when I believe in something strongly enough for the bigger vision of the business or the relationship. And what that's done is cultivated an environment of support. And it's cultivated an environment where it's actually safe to make mistakes as well, right? That's an important one, because it's not about having a relationship or a partnership where you're only supported while you're winning. No, right?
Yeah.
The coach doesn't abandon the team because they lose one game, right? That's when they're needed most. And so I have relationships in both business and intimate where I'm supported and safe to make mistakes. And I think that's vitally important if you are an entrepreneur, if you are a business owner, to have that.
Yeah, spot on, Barry. And I think it makes a world of the difference as well, because people get caught in their own head. I may want to make this change, but, if I do so, this is what's going to happen. I don't think my partner's going to be so supportive of it. But they just end up in this hamster wheel doing the exact same thing year after year. Nothing changes, which is fueling the underlying issue. The partner not being supportive of the business, just based on how it's running. So like my just biggest suggestion to anybody listening is involve your partner, but understand that it's your responsibility, and you got to identify is if somebody out there in your life is going to be an anchor, where it's more on the sabotage side of things, then you've got to do something. You've got to step up. Otherwise, like, what are you losing? Like, what are you losing in the years you put off? But Barry, quick question for you is how do you identify if it's somebody wanting to protect you or somebody that's actually sabotaging you? Because I think a lot of people out there are now starting to think is that resentment like based on sabotage, or are they just trying to protect me, or they're unhappy with the way I've made decisions? How do you find that out, Barry?
Yeah, fantastic question, mate. I find that out through how they're able to validate their point of view, right? So it's like someone will say, "Oh, hey, like Barry, this is a really shitty career choice." Like, example, don't go down that path. Cool. What lets you know that? Like, I'm curious to understand, why do you believe that this is a shitty career choice for me? Now, if they're able to logically and rationally give you reasoning behind it, that will often in me go, huh, I've never seen it that way. And this happens all the time with my partner, Kate, is that, she's not necessarily an entrepreneur or a business owner. Yet I go to her when I'm challenged with something, and I'll share something, and she will ask questions, or she'll put a point of view. And because I've asked, I'll listen. I'm like, huh, I've never seen it that way. Now, whether or not I choose to go her way or not is irrelevant. What's relevant is the fact that I've been able to see my issue, my challenge, my opportunity differently. But if her response has come from a trigger, right,
Yeah.
meaning it's not rational, it's not grounded, the words aren't clearly articulated, the communication's not there, and there's a whole bunch of mumbo jumbo, not much substance, that usually is a red flag and an indicator that her perspective is coming from a past wound, right, and from fear.
So powerful. Thanks for sharing that, Barry. I think that's going to help out a lot of people to actually understand where that's coming from, and what they can do differently about that. But I think the biggest thing is just not to be scared of change just due to somebody else. At the end of the day, you need to look after yourself, and you fixing your business, or you fixing where you're at in your life, it's gonna positively impact every areas of your life. And this is what I like to say, because I think a lot of people have a misalignment understanding where if they focus on their business, or if they invest in their business, they're taking away from their personal life. Or if they focus on their personal life, they're taken away from their business. And I don't believe that at all. We don't believe that. My strongest point of view is you get your business and you fix your business. You get the business to a point where it doesn't need you. It can generate profits without you being there. It's going to impact your relationship positively. You can have more time to spend with your kids, with your partner. You can actually go away on a vacation without having to answer your phone every 5 minutes. And it's going to improve your health, your relationships, your wealth, just everything. But it's going to stem from your business. And Barry, just finishing off, because I've read your book, I've lost count, probably like 10 times. And there's always that one quote that you talk about. I just want you to share, where you're talking about personal problems and business problems.
Yeah.
I just want you to touch on that and how that ties into what we've just discussed here today.
Yeah, I knew you were going to reflect on that one. That was a powerful realization I had, and that was that we never have business problems. We only ever have personal problems that get expressed through our business. Now, this was from years of personal development, understanding psychotherapies and coaching a lot of people from a psychological perspective before the business coaching, right? And it was realizing that any unaddressed trauma, any unaddressed negative beliefs or conflicts or areas where we're out of integrity with self, any areas where we're holding guilt or shame within inside of us, and a lot of the time, to Anthony, we're not conscious of it, it gets expressed through our actions and our interactions, right? And the reason that it's being expressed is because it's the body's way, or it's the being's way of trying to be resolved. It thinks that if it's shared or expressed or out there, we're able to see it and then resolve it. Yet often what happens is we're blind to it. All right. We haven't got people around us to support us, to help us to resolve that. Or we don't know how to resolve that, because a lot of this stuff we can't do ourselves. And so what I realized in growing a business is that anytime I had issues on anything from marketing to sales to recruitment, I could always take them back to a sense of flawed thinking, right? There was a sense of flawed thinking that attracted the situation that was creating the perceived problem that I was having. So I could address the problem, or I could address the thinking that created the problem in the first place. And the moment I addressed the thinking behind it, everything else changed. And so this is why, on the one aspect, yes, we need to put effort into growing a business, but it shouldn't be at the cost of our health or of our family. And often when I find business owners are overwhelmed and doing too much, I actually get them to stop and spend more time on themselves out of the business, and more time in their relationships, more time with their kids, which actually fulfills them and fills them up. And most of the time is a reason why they're in business in the first place. And the moment they do that and create the disassociation from the grind and having, to hustle and work to make ends meet and support the family, they're able to see the business differently and therefore make different decisions, which create different outcomes and results.
I love it. I love it. That's an awesome share. Thanks, Barry. I think we should leave it there, man. You've just
Awesome.
you finished it off on a positive note. But where can everybody go to learn more about like what we do here at the Tradie Business School, if maybe they're going through some of the similar problems there that we just discussed today?
Yeah, well, I guess there's two opportunities. One is, if you haven't already joined our free Facebook group, Trades and General Contractors Global, make sure you join that group, because every single week, every day, we're posting content, cheat sheets, downloadables to things that you can quickly implement in your business to see lasting change. Or if you've been following us for a while and you're in a position where you're like, you know what, I'm happy to look to invest maybe a bit more time and possibly even some money into getting better results in my business, please find us on social or visit tradiebusinessschool.com. Book a call with one of the amazing team, and we can kind of go through understanding where you and your business are at, where you'd like to go, and whether or not we're going to be a good fit to help you get there faster, more profitably, and with a lot less stress.
And bring your spouse, bring your partners along to that conversation. They will appreciate it. Absolutely. Yeah. All right, Barry, it's been awesome.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Anthony. Thanks everyone for listening, and see you on the next one.
Thanks, guys. Bye for now.